after after the podcast.
Okay.
Does that sound fair?
That sounds fair.
Hey guys, and welcome to the RAW Barbell Club podcast. I'm your host, coach, and all-around good guy, Andy. Today I'm here with Phil from M3, Phillip PT on Instagram.
Yep.
How you doing, man?
Good, man. I just had lunch, so I'm pretty full, but pretty good.
So you've been on the podcast a couple of times.
Yes.
So you're kind of a regular. What I'll get you to do is just bring that microphone a little bit closer to you, so you can sit back.
Oh, cool.
And the microphone will just come to you.
Yes, gotcha.
Is that comfortable?
Yeah, it's very comfortable.
Cool. Anyway, you were talking to me before about just authenticity.
Yes.
Tell me a bit more about this stuff.
Oh man, where do I start? I think before I start, I have to say that this is all from my point of view, and it's a lens of mine. And anything I say, if you take it on board with and you agree, that's most likely because you think I'm right, not because I am right. So if you're somebody listening to this and you agree with what I'm saying, great. If you disagree, great. We are supposed to have, it's normal to have a disagreement between people. I'm not telling you this is how you should think, and I'm not saying that I'm right. All I'm saying is this is what I observe, and this is why I think it is wrong. So to answer your question, authenticity to me is just mean what you say. Really, just mean what you say. Don't be anyone that you don't be anyone different than who you are behind closed doors. And I don't mean that in the sense of if you're like a complete, you like to engage in really weird shit behind closed doors. No, you don't have to show that stuff behind to other people. But if you feel a certain way about something, if you have an opinion about something, either don't say anything because you'd like to keep it to yourself, but don't change your opinion to please someone else.
Can you give me an example that you've dealt with lately? Recently?
Well, recently, when you say you're happy about something to other people, and then you tell me or you tell your closest friends that you're really not, that to me is completely inauthentic and disingenuous, yeah. But like the question is not, the question is, yeah, why are you saying this stuff? But the question is, like, why do you feel it's necessary for you to change what you're saying to please the people in front of you? That's a better question. Like, why can't you just be honest? If you're not feeling like this is the right thing to do, don't say it is because that's what you're supposed to say.
Why do you think it is that people do that? Is it because it is important these days to be perceived a certain way, or is is that the reason you're
I think so. I think that people think that they're supposed to act a certain way. Like, people think that they're supposed to be nice. I hold the view that you're not. I think that the people think that you're supposed to be nice in favor of constructive criticism, or you're supposed to be nice in favor of just being honest. Honesty doesn't mean you're nice. Honesty actually, most of the time, is not nice. And most people can't deal with receiving that, but also most people can't deal with delivering that. It's not comfortable for either person, for one person to be honest, unless you're really somebody who can take it. And perhaps it's this day and age that we live in, but everything's supposed to be lovey-dovey. Everything's supposed to be positive. Everything's supposed to be happy. You're not supposed to. It's almost like everything you look at is sunshines, rainbows, daisies, and it's anything otherwise is wrong. The person who's being honest and being not, if you're not the most praising person, you might be perceived as a bit of a dick, right? You might be, and that is such a problem because those dicks that you're talking about that are not giving the praise, they're the ones who are actually trying to make you better. Because they're the ones that are offering you an opinion on what could be better. In not just in the weightlifting context, but everything else, in business, in your brand, in any, even as a character. If you're being disingenuous in your character and somebody calls you out on it, and you don't respond well, then it's like, well, this person's actually trying to help you, and because you can't take it on board, you feel that everyone's supposed to be nice to you, then you're really not going to get any better because of it.
It's kind of scary that this is kind of the world that we live in. we were talking also earlier about, and so for those at home that are listening or watching this, like Phil and I were talking about just life. We'd recorded a podcast earlier with some of the boys, and we just started talking, and I always feel like when I talk to you that I need to record it because they're such cool conversations.
Yeah, well, that's because we bounce off each other.
Yeah. Anyway, I know that this isn't purely weightlifting, but you guys can definitely take this on in the weightlifting world in both the way, because, you know, just in any sport, it's all about relationships, right? And then add on fact that nowadays we have so much social media, those relationships extend beyond just coach, athlete, 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 coach, 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 official, athlete, official, you know, like whatever the myriad of relationships we deal with now, we have to deal with people, you know, on the other side of the world that watch, like, comment, are part of our not only personal brands but just our personal lives. You know, like you make friends in this sport from all over the world.
That's right.
And friends and enemies, I guess, too, right?
Yeah, you're never going to have a fan. Sometimes you don't even know who they are and they don't like you. Yeah.
And in a world of like this norm of like anonymity, like where you can say and do anything without any social repercussions, like you can be on the other side of the world. I could watch like you lifting on Instagram, and then like I don't even have to use my real name, don't have to use my real account. I can just make an account, comment, torture you, whatever. So like, who are you actually trying to change? Like if you're just showing yourself as being like super positive all the time, or not having to deal with stuff, it's just like such a rabbit hole, right?
Well, that's right. You like, if you're always presenting yourself to be this positive person, the moment you are seen as negative, you're the inauthentic person. But the truth is, you've always had that element of yourself. You've always had an element where you're negative. You're having a rough day. You're having a shit time in your life, but you've never presented that to anyone, and you don't even talk about it. You're not even acknowledging that you're having a shit time. So if you're always presenting yourself as this positive person, and then suddenly people meet you and you can't be that person, then you come across as inauthentic, but you've been that way all along. And I think that's where people fall into that trap. It's people, you're putting out, well, this is in social media anyway, you put out certain things and then it becomes this a trap for you. But even in person, if you're in person, you're always, you know, surface level, kind. You're not kind, kind is different, nice. You're very nice in the surface. But then to your close friends, you talk about other people not in that way. And that's when it becomes a problem. And you're going to get called out eventually. There was something I wanted to say about that, but now I've completely forgotten.
That's right. I have a question as well. If we take, I mean, it is important to be genuine and authentic just to other people.
Yeah.
But what about the importance of being genuine and authentic to yourself? Like, if no one calls you out, what damage are you doing to yourself and your own mind, your own soul, by I guess just putting out there that you're not doing so well? Like, it's pretty damaging, right?
Yeah. If you're not strong enough to have honest conversations with yourself and identify what it is you're struggling at, what you could be better at, and nobody else is telling you, then you've just got this inflated sense of self, I guess, for lack of a better word. And at the end of the day, when you're the person alone and suddenly you realize you're really not going that well, despite everyone saying that you are, then you've got nothing to turn to. But when you know you've got things to work on, then you're aware. And if anyone was to say anything, you go, yeah, it's true. Like I agree with what you're saying because I've already had this conversation with myself and it's true. But if you don't have that convo, the moment somebody does say something or shit hits the fan, now you're all alone and like your world's just split.
And you know, like we were talking before as well, about suffering,
Yeah.
and it's okay to suffer. I mean, like, not needless suffering,
Yeah.
and not like any kind of like sadistic or
Yes.
masochistic suffering. Like, I'm talking about like just little things. Like, we all have ups and downs, and it's important for you and your own mental well-being to understand that, right?
Yeah.
And if you need help dealing with that, you need to ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to ask, to lean on friends, family. If you don't have friends and family, I understand it's difficult, but there are people you can call, lines you can call.
Mm-hmm.
There's always someone that will listen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just have to find them.
That's right. And like, you're one of those people that you could speak to Andy about a lot of things. And I mean, you're someone who likes to give an ear.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to help, right? Sometimes helping, the best thing to do for someone is just to sit there, say nothing, and just be quiet.
Yeah.
I think Tony Robbins or someone says the greatest gift you can give someone is your time and your labor. And I like that statement, because time, on a commodity sense, is the most valuable thing you can give. And there's nothing like the feeling you give someone when you just patiently listen, acknowledge their concerns, and that's it. There's really nothing else that needs to be done. They honestly just needed an ear. And I think you're somebody who does that a lot. Personally, I try to be a lot like that. I'm not someone who offers opinion to help unless asked, but I also know that as long as I'm listening to someone, like I genuinely want to listen to someone, then in some way, just by them telling their story to me, they're already helping themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. But going back to what you were saying about everything going up and down, I was just saying to you before we started this podcast, I'm so sick of all this positivity bullshit that's being spread around, especially in the media, social media, for example. I get that. So positivity is...
And just quickly, can you give us an example of that? Because I know it's it's hard to give examples of this stuff, but I think it's important for people to understand what exactly you're talking about.
Okay.
Right?
So positivity, in the sense of when you have things being put out there that you should always focus on the positives. Don't worry about the negatives. You should always be... you should always look to the bright side. Always look to the bright side. And don't worry about the dark side. And focus on things that make you happy, and not on the things that make you unhappy. To give you that's like a dichotomous sort of saying. Now I'm skeptical about this sort of thing, because I don't believe the outcome from these statements is that it's supposed to make your life better. It's supposed to make you feel better. But life is better. The life is better mantra, it's both positive things, and I say that with bunny ears, because positive to one thing is one person may be different for another person, but positive things in your life and negative things in your life both have the capacity to make your life better. Right? The people who go through a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, grow at rates that I think probably are better than people who are constantly on a smooth ride and everything is positive. Right? If you have the suffering and you have...
Hey Peter, how you going?
You have the suffering and you have the pain, then you come out stronger.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. I do have one quick question about that as well. I guess if people are not being authentic about that stuff, what does that do to the people that are watching?
Yeah.
The people that might not see that and don't understand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have this broken picture of what it really is, what life really is. Because now you've got people who look up to these on the social media, for example, and they see all this positivity, and they think that that's all life is, when it's really not. Life isn't all positivity; it's actually both. Like the yin yang symbol is my favorite. Is such a good illustration of it. The yin yang symbol, black, white, two dots in between, and you're supposed to walk somewhere in between, and that's key. You're meant to walk that balance between positive, negative, and be in a state of in the middle. And being too much on either side is when you're unbalanced. And if you're at home and you're watching somebody who's always putting out shit like they're happy all the time, like that, you and I both know that's bullshit. How different could they actually be to you? I get it, they might have successful business, good career lifting, but let me tell you something about an athlete who's always on the road traveling. Apart from the 2 or 4 hours or 8, maybe 3 or 6 hours they're training, what do you think they're doing with the rest of their time? Like they're not having fun playing games or socializing, drinking. No, it doesn't work like that. You could be seeing an athlete having all these glamorous things and putting up things, posts about how glamorous their life is, how happy they are to be here. And I get that. That is really cool. And in that moment, it's amazing. But all that downtime, when they're not doing any of that stuff, when they're just grinding away at the gym, going home, eating, going to sleep, getting back up, training again, do you think that's glamorous? It's not. But you don't see that. And if you don't see that, you think that doesn't exist. It does exist. And it's normal. And for you, if you're going through something similar, and you're having like, let's just say 50% of your day is good, positive, and the other 50% is not good and positive, it's flatline or even bad, perhaps that's normal. And you're not depressed, you're actually just normal. And walk that line, have both. When you're negative and you're being pissed off and you're angry, guess what? That's something to help you get better. If you're angry about where your career is, guess what? That anger is supposed to channel you to go do something about your career. You're not meant to just stay there. If you're happy about something, great, stay there and keep going, and you get better. But to be angry and watch something else and go, oh, my life should be like this. Well, guess what? You probably have the emotional energy right now from your anger and your frustration to go fucking do something. Make a plan. Make steps towards what you want to be. And that's normal. That's supposed to help you. But you wallow in there and you just keep wasting your time comparing yourself to people on Instagram that you don't fully know the life of. Then you're in a trap. Then you're stuck in this cycle of my life's shit, but look at theirs. My life's shit, but look at theirs.
Oh, makes sense, man. So for people at home, I guess what is your call to action to them? Like, other than being realer on the social media,
Yeah.
I guess, like, do you have any specific asks?
Yeah. Go take action. Whatever it is. Like for me, my point of frustration when I left my job was I didn't feel like I was making the impact that I wanted to make in my career, in my life. And my call of action was one day I just completely lost all motivation to turn up to be a physio. And I went, all right, it's either this, I stay like this for the rest of my life and just be this defeated personality. Doesn't matter whether I was made com games or all that stuff. Like people project this like, oh, he's made com games successful. Sometimes they're like, oh, it's successful. So that's not how it works.
I still can't believe you did that as a C grade lifter.
Oh, me too. Yeah. It's crazy how I had luck. But then do something about it. I quit my job. I started with the company. I'm running the things that I say I'm going to run, and now it's working okay. It's not to the point where I can sit back and say, oh, it's all worked out, because it hasn't, and it probably won't. As in, it won't be 100% perfect the way I pictured it. But at least right now, I'm happy doing what I do because it's the action that I've taken based off what I feel is right. And if you're somebody in that position where you feel like, I don't want to be here, well then don't be there. Go do, put your money where your mouth is, stop whinging, and go do what you think you should be doing. If you don't do it, then just nut up. Just don't whinge. Don't talk about all the things you could be doing if you weren't in a particular spot. Take the risk, take the jump.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I guess my advice is, if you are struggling with anything, ask for help. There are so many people around you that you might not think are there for you, but they are. Definitely, if you're, a personality on social media, please try to be cognizant of the impact that you're having on just the people around you, the people that, like your fans and stuff. Like, they need to see both sides of the coin. They don't just need to see the sunshine and rainbows, and they definitely do want to see the downs as well. And then lastly, if you're on social media, watching your idols, watching your heroes, just watching people in general, like just take it with a grain of salt. Like look around you, look at the people in real life, and see, like, you know, if 20 or 30 of them around you are looking like they're just regular people, that's the vast majority, you know. Surely the you know, the Dan Bilzerians and whatever, like the people that you may look at and be like, wow, their lives must be so amazing, like they can't be that amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I mean, that's just my little tidbit that I gathered from what you were saying. Phil, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Phillip.pt. I've got a Facebook page where I pretty much just take the piss out of the health industry as best I can, and that's Phillip PT as well. But man, honestly, I put out a lot of stuff that I think might help, like regarding tendons and books and just content on social media. You can send me a message. I'm always happy to talk. Doesn't mean I'm going to be nice though. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey man, so nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. That's not how I am. Whatever you ask me, I'll try to help you the best way I can. And yeah, just if you want to work with me, I'm in Granville, Adonis Athletics. Come chat with me first. I don't take money unless I think I can help you. Cool.
And guys, you can find RAW Barbell Club on all of our social medias. So that's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, where you're probably watching this, or if you're listening on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Guys, if you do need help, whatever, like, feel free to reach out to us. Like,
Yeah.
we're always willing to at least point you in the right direction of someone who can help you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do have any of those questions, like, feel free to ask them. And if you want to share this podcast because you found it helpful, please do. If you like the podcast, just, you know, tap your friend on the shoulder, punch him in the face, and say, hey, listen to Phil.
Listen to Andy, and then punch him again.
Thanks so much for joining us,
Thanks,
guys, on this short podcast. I'll see you next time.